New York Times this morning about the cost of Thanksgiving could be some of the highest that we've seen in a long time. We've obviously heard the president talk about gas prices as well. He was asked last week on that CNN town hall. Would there be a price that gas would have to get that the president would say, okay, now's the time to tap the Strategic Petroleum Reserve?
Well, the president reserves a range of options, and he is certainly quite mindful of the impact of any increased cost on the American public. There are a range of factors here which we could delve into, but I will say that on gas prices, one of the issues that Jake referenced, and obviously as we have more details on what this may look like, we'll share it with all of you, is being able to raise our concern and the president's concern about supply issues as it relates to oil, and that's something that certainly he can do on the international stage, and there's a power of the President of the United States engaging on that front. That issue has been raised at Jake's level, at a range of levels throughout government, but certainly the supply and OPEC and putting additional pressure on OPEC is something that certainly our national security team will continue to do. I will also note that as it relates to gas prices, we remain concerned about trends we have seen where even as supply has increased at times over the last several months, we've still seen heightened prices. The FTC, we've asked the FTC to look into that. They've said they were doing that. But as it relates to costs, there's a number of steps. So let me just give you just a brief update on one step we are taking at the ports that is new, kind of new information. One, I would note that and this is not about gas prices, but just about the movement of goods, which is certainly something that is impacting, I think, a lot of people across the country. One, I would note, and I thought this was an interesting fact, both ports, the Port of Los Angeles and Long Beach, that we've talked about a lot because of the huge amount of volume that goes through them, are moving an unprecedented amount of cargo this year. So one of the challenges, we've talked about this a little bit, but I'm going to put some numbers on it. Both ports are moving 19% more containers than at the same point in 2018, which was the previous record. And the ports remain on target to outpace the previous record of 17.5 million containers processed in 2018. That's because of a range of factors. People are buying more things online. People are in a better, not everyone, but a lot of people, data-wise, across the American public, are in a better financial situation than they were a year ago, so they're purchasing more goods. And what we're seeing right now are terminals are filled with containers that have been sitting around for days without getting picked up, and that holding goods in these containers, and that is obviously a challenge. So yesterday, I just wanted to note that the ports announced they will address this problem and no longer let carriers use the ports as warehouse space, and this will hopefully help move things a little bit more quickly. And starting on November 1st, for the first time, the ports will charge carriers $100 per container scheduled to be moved by truck that has sat on that port for 9 days and more, and $100 per container scheduled to be moved by rail that has dwelled 3 days or more. The charge will increase $100 per container per day. So I'm using that example just because we are continuing to press on ways to address issues in the supply chain, which some are at ports, some are at rails, some are at limited and drivers, et cetera. Go ahead.